Hi, my name is Andrew McDermott, and this is the Champions Mindset Podcast. Join me as I dive into the minds of the world's greatest champions and share with you the secrets, lessons, and knowledge that's allowed them to rise to the top. Welcome to our community of greatness, abundance, and fortitude. Thank you so much for being here. It's time to become the person you've always wanted to be. What's going on, everybody? This is episode 2 of the Champions Eye-Opening Experience podcast, presented by First Finisher. Arguably more important than anything else. I'm really taken bad by all the positive feedback. Before discovering Early to Rise, I just assumed my life would go the way everybody else went. I'd go to college, get a decent job, work till 65, and then retire and hopefully have saved up enough money to enjoy a few of the finest things in life in the world. But what Craig made me realize is that each and every one of us has the ability to do something great and to live a truly fulfilling life. Management, fitness. In today's episode, Craig and I talk about the most important principles he's learned. Makes this interview so special for me, so they can live Craig was one of the very first people I stumbled upon, remarkable life, who inspired me to live a fulfilling life. Before we get into the show, let's talk a little bit about fitness and to become an entrepreneur. Craig is a productivity and success transformation coach from Toronto, Canada. Craig has been the author of the Perfect Day Formula, How to Own the Day and Control Your Life. I was just 14 years old, I found Craig's writing. Craig has his master's degree in exercise physiology from McMaster University on the site. He has been a contributor to Men's Health magazine since 2000. I could achieve his articles have also appeared in Women's Health, Oxygen, GQ, Maxim, National Geographic, and many, many more. In 2001, Craig started his own business, Turbulence Training, which completely took the fitness world by storm. He's helped millions of people transform their lives and improve their health and wellness. Craig's online success has led him to create books and coaching programs to teach you how to take your own ideas and help thousands of people. We get into all this on the show, and Craig's going to tell you exactly how you can start implementing these life-changing success principles in your own life. We talk about creating rules for your life, the power of waking up early, the 5 pillars of success, why having a vision is crucial to living the life you want, how choosing who you spend your time with influences you more than you might imagine, and so much more. Without further ado, here's my interview with Craig Ballantyne. All right, welcome to the show, Craig Ballantyne. How are you doing, Craig?
Very good. It's excellent to speak with you.
You as well. Thank you so much for being on the show, Craig. So Craig is the editor of the website Early to Rise, which is all about helping its readers live a richer and more fulfilling life in really every way. I am a longtime ETR reader, probably going on around 7 years now. I read it every single day. I won't miss it. It's really something, no matter what your goal is in life, no matter what kind of aspirations, it's just really amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew. And how did you find it? Can you remember? I mean, you must have been like 10 years old when you found it, if you've been reading it for 7 years.
Yeah, I was 14. I'm 21 now. I was 14 when I started reading it.
That's amazing.
Just kind of stumbled upon it, and
okay.
It's really just an amazing site because obviously, first and foremost, your writing is incredible, but the content you curate is really just the best from all around the internet, all around the world.
Well, I appreciate it. And it's funny because, I found it in 2001 when it was not, it wasn't my website, obviously. I can't remember exactly how I found it, but I felt the same way you felt about it, that the writer at the time, Mark Ford, was doing an amazing job. But to me, it was really the message of we're going to improve your health, wealth, and wisdom. And those are 3 of the most important things to me, reading good books and obviously being healthy, but also how can I build my wealth, not only in my career, but also by starting a business and also by investing my money properly. And so it really is a holistic approach to taking care of the foundations of life so that you can go out there and really enjoy your time with other people and your family. And so for you getting started on this content at such a young age, Andrew, is just, man, it's going to pay off so much for you. And you are going to have that fulfilled life that we aim to give everyone.
That, this knowledge from a site like Early to Rise, it's like compound interest. The earlier you start, the more valuable it's going to be in the long term.
Yeah, I like the phrase compound learning. The more you learn today, the easier it's going to be to apply that learning in the future. And I often use that argument for my fitness list and nutrition list. But I mean, if you go in and do a deep dive of nutrition, you don't have to spend like years on it. You just need, go and get 1 really good or 2 really good nutrition books, read them, maybe read them twice, and keep track of your calories for a couple weeks, and you'll know everything you need to about how to eat for your specific body type for the rest of your life. And it'll be so easy just doing that little couple week deep dive. And you can go and do that for many, many things. And the more you learn and get that foundation of knowledge, the more it's going to pay off for decades and decades and decades and really lead to significant results.
I couldn't agree more. So the first thing I wanted to talk about for some of our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with you or your work is your career path, because it's fascinating. So you started out just as a personal trainer and you turned that into your own business. And now, however many years later, you're running one of the biggest success blogs on the internet. You're an incredibly successful entrepreneur, mentor, coach, author, a host of allocades. And tell us a little bit how you got here.
Yeah, so I started out, believe it or not, when I was 16 years old, training the Arnold Schwarzenegger way through classic bodybuilding. And then I realized, I'm from Canada and I love hockey and I wanted to play in the NHL, but I found out quickly that wasn't going to happen. So I thought, hey, what's the fastest way that I can get to the NHL? And that was to become a strength and conditioning coach in the NHL. And so that was my original goal when I went to college, was to do that. And it was actually my goal all the way to the end of college, until I stumbled across the editor of Men's Health, the fitness editor of Men's Health, his email address on a job board online. And I emailed him one of my newsletters that I had been writing to my friends and trainers at the gym. And he put something in the magazine, and it just started a relationship there. And I started realizing how much I loved helping the busy guy, the guy who works all day and goes home and does some dumbbell exercises in his basement. And I just realized I love helping that person. And so I started creating manuals and products for that person. And that evolved into helping more women, and that evolved into more bodyweight programs, because a lot of people were emailing me saying they didn't have any equipment at all. And that led to some really big successful programs like my Home Workout Revolution program, my turbulence training program that's helped, hundreds of thousands of people around the world. Then we got into YouTube videos, and then I got into teaching other people how to do what I do. That means, how to sell their own fitness information products. And then in 2011 was when it all came to its pinnacle, which was me being able to take over Early to Rise, the website that I had long been a fan of. So it was a long journey, obviously a decade from 2001 when I wrote my first article about turbulence training to 2011 when I bought Early to Rise. But it was a great journey. Made a lot of friends in the business world who are some of my best friends today. And I've been able to help people. And that's really the drive of it all, Andrew, is as much as I love making money as a business person, I just really, really, really love the letters, the video testimonials, meeting all the people that we help. And as you'll experience as your podcast becomes more popular and you help more people with all the businesses that you start, you don't really understand. You can never really understand how many people you're helping. I mean, it's one thing to send an email newsletter out to 100,000 people, but you don't really comprehend 100,000 people, like that's filling more than the Orange Bowl or, big football stadiums, up at Michigan State or University of Michigan. That's the entire football stadium is receiving your emails. And if you think about that for a second, then it's almost overwhelming, because that's a lot of people. Imagine you had to go and talk to them individually. It would take forever and ever and ever. And so that's the power of the internet, and that's the how we can leverage and help more people. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And that's been the real drive for me all these years.
That's amazing, Craig. And like you just said, the internet gives you this huge power to influence so many people. And another way to do that, and maybe the oldest way in history, is through writing a book and writing. And recently, you released a new book called The Perfect Day Formula. And this is a huge reason why I wanted to have Craig on the podcast, because, like I said, I've been a longtime ETR reader. And this new book by Craig, The Perfect Day Formula, is really a culmination of his best work, I think.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, no problem, man. It's amazing. I'm going to say this probably a billion times on the podcast. You need to get this book. No matter where you are in life, what you're doing, this is the basis, I believe, of success. And the thing for me is, for a long time, I knew what kind of day I wanted to live. I knew what I should be doing. I would write it down. I would think about it all the time. But then it'd be the end of the day, and I'd have gotten not much done. I would be really upset, and I'd always, try and set some kind of new goal, try some new way, and nothing was working until I put these practices to work that I read throughout the years from Early to Rising Craig. And the perfect day formula is really like the Bible of being able to live a fulfilling day and the day you want to live.
I appreciate that. And again, I know exactly how you feel. And that's exactly who I wrote the book for, is for people that at 5 o'clock feel like they just did a ton of work, but don't feel like they got anywhere. And I've had days like that in the past. And generally that happens when you're in reactive mode. And there's really two ways to go about your day, being proactive or reactive. And like you said, at the end of that description, you said you went about trying to plan for the next day to be better. And that's where it all starts. Planning at the end of the day for tomorrow gets you in proactive mode, making sure that you wake up on time and don't hit snooze. Because if you hit snooze and you're late and then you're rushing for breakfast and you're rushing through traffic and you're rushing to get to your office desk and you're rushing to get through email first, that is a reactive way to go through life. And that is the type of approach that at the end of the day, you just feel burnt out, but not accomplished in any way. And so I want people to avoid those days by being proactive. And that's what the book is about. That's what the kit is about. It just shows people exactly what works based on the last 10 years of my life, where I've been studying it so much since I became a full-time entrepreneur, where I was not having to go and train people and then work on my business on the side. Obviously, I learned a lot of time management techniques there, but once you have the freedom of working for yourself, you have to put in structure. Otherwise, you will really waste your days. And so that's the book, and the kit is really a culmination of everything I've learned in the last 10 years.
The first thing that really stuck out to me in the book, and really, it was actually, I think, one of the first articles I ever read by you that impacted my life the most, and what I believe is really the basis of becoming a champion, is creating these things called the rules of your life. Creating a list of these rules that you follow no matter what, no exceptions, every single day. So can you tell us a little bit about creating rules for your life, how to follow them, and really what they've done in your own life and what you've seen in other people's lives that they've impacted?
Yeah, so I'm going to start, first of all, by speaking to the people who are just, put off by the idea of putting rules in their life. And, a lot of people think, especially listening to in your age group, Andrew, they don't want more rules. Maybe they just got done college or something, and they're like, hey, I'm on my own terms now, buddy. I'm not going to put more rules in my life. But here's why I want you to consider it, because when you have more rules in your life, you have more structure in your day. When you have more structure in your day, you actually have more freedom in your life. And so here's a great analogy. So, you probably have a car and you drive around town, and when you get to a red light, you stop. And you stop at stop signs, and you go when it's a green light. And those are the traffic rules. And imagine if we didn't have traffic rules. It would be utter chaos, and there would be accidents all over the place. You'd never get to where you wanted to go. And if we have that same approach in our life, that we have no rules, we have no structure, then there'll be this utter chaos, and we'll never get to where we want to get to in life. But if you put in boundaries and rules in place in your life, then you'll have more success. And Andrew, I'm sure you can relate to this, because you and I both love fitness, and we love the gym, and we love nutrition and having optimal performance. People that follow a paleo diet have rules in their dieting life. People that follow specific workout programs, whether it's a CrossFit program or one of my turbulence training programs, you're following rules for training because the rules are adapted to give you maximum results so that you can have more freedom by getting out of the gym faster. And so that is the mindset you must take for creating rules for your life. Now, you don't even have to call them rules. You can call them your personal commandments. You can call them your operating system, like a computer has an operating system. And all they are boundaries that help you avoid temptation, eliminate distractions, and act in accordance with the vision for your life. And so everyone can put these in place. I recommend that everyone has one for their sleeping hours, for their health, for their wealth building, and for their priorities in life. For example, I recommend that people have a rule that say, every morning I wake up and I spend 15 minutes or more or less time, if you want, working on my number one priority in life. And so for me, in my rules, I have a rule that says every morning I wake up and I write for 60 minutes because that's my number one priority in life, because that's my job. That's what I get paid for. That's how I build my business. And because that's my number one priority, I need to spend time on it first thing before the rest of the world gets in the way and starts stealing my time. And it doesn't matter what you want to improve in your life. If you want to improve your health, if that's the number one priority, then that's what you should focus on first thing in the morning, whether it's exercise and nutrition. Or if you need to get out of credit card debt, then you should sit down and think of ways to get out of credit card debt first thing in the morning, if that's the number one obstacle in your life. And so those are the rules that, just some of the rules that you can put into place. You can also have rules about how you want to act in public, the impression that you want to give people, and it'll help you live the life that you want to live.
What you said about that first rule for me was waking up early. No other rule has made my life better than waking up early. I get up every morning at 4:30. It's every day. And
it's a really good magic time, Andrew, because there's nobody going to be bothering you at that time of day, and it's still, it's not too early where it's the middle of the night or anything. 4:30, 5 o'clock. You're up before the sun most of the time. You get good reflection time, and then if you want to do something as the sun rises, is perfect. And then people start catching up to you, but in that hour or two before everybody else is up, you've done amazing work. You've gotten so far ahead of the game that it doesn't matter how the rest of the day goes. If it's completely off the rails, it doesn't matter, because you've already won your day with quality work in that time. And that is just the value of being up. Now, I have friends who are night owls and make the same argument about staying up late. But the only problem is that more often than in the morning, the world will end up bringing an emergency into your life, or you just might get tired, or you might get invited out to a social thing. And the next thing you know, you're going to go home and not do any work. And so if you leave it till late at night, you can't always be sure of getting it done. But if you do it first thing in the morning, there's almost no way that you're going to miss out.
And that's the biggest part for me as a writer as well. Being able to get up and have no distractions in the world. No one's emailing me. Nothing's going on social media. Everyone else is asleep, and it's just my time. And I can't stress how important that is, because until you really experience it, you don't really know what you're missing out on, because it's such in the world we live in that's so chaotic, so much going on. It's really a beautiful time to get things done.
Absolutely.
So now I want to get into the actual nitty-gritty of the perfect day formula. And really the basis of it is the 3C formula. So I'd love to know a little bit more about the 3C formula and tell our listeners how it works.
Right. So the 3C formula is based on the teachings of a Stoic philosopher named Epictetus from thousands of years ago. And he had a phrase, or, it was either interpreted or he said it exactly this way, but it goes like this: control what you can, cope with what you can't, and concentrate on what counts. And we can apply those 3 C's, control, cope, and concentrate, to the 3 parts of the day, so that you have control over your morning with the rules for your life. You cope with the chaos of the world in the afternoon with what I call the 5 pillars of success. And then you concentrate on what counts at night, which is the vision for your life. And again, we go through the day with a lot of structure so that we have more free time at night. And that's something that a lot of people would, tend to reject, but you have to overcome that and say, listen, I'm willing to be more structured and focused at work, so I'm not wasting time there, so that I can go home and be with my girlfriend, or be with my kids, or be with my parents, or whatever it is, or friends, and go to movies, whatever it is. But just be free at night and not obligated to be checking your email or to be trying to hit deadlines that you didn't hit during the day because you were too busy with your fantasy football pool. So you really have to focus on getting stuff done during the day with controlling your mornings. And so that's really how the 3C formula comes into play.
So we kind of talked already about the morning and controlling your morning and how important that is. But you mentioned something called the 5 pillars of success, of personal transformation. Can you walk us through a couple of examples of these in action?
Absolutely. So I learned them from my weight loss transformation clients. So in the turbulence training program, I have ran over 25 contests now. We're on contest number 26. And in each contest, there's 4 winners. So that's about 100 winners that we've had in the contest. And I read a little essay from each one of them after they have won when they submit their before and afters. And I realized that the people who win the contest, the people who have success, have these 5 pillars in place. And people that drop out after 2 weeks or struggle are missing some of these pillars. And what I found was it's better planning and preparation is pillar number 1. Professional accountability, which is hiring a coach for expert advice and for accountability, is number 2. Having positive social support, the cheerleaders in your life, the people that are going to pick you up when you're feeling down, that's pillar number 3. And then a meaningful incentive for inspiring you to go and do the work is pillar number 4. And then pillar number 5 is the big deadline. And that drives us to take action more than anything else in the world. And so when you have all 5 of these in place, you can make them work for anything in your life, whether you want to make more money, get out of debt, lose weight, get healthy, find a new girl, whatever it is, buy the house of your dreams. You can use these pillars to achieve what you want.
And I think that just goes to show what's really important here is that a lot of what you're talking about are principles, and they're so adaptive to every area of your life. And so it's simple because you can just basically mix and match with whatever your goal is. And, on the surface, a lot of this, I think, can seem intimidating to people because it's a lot of change. It's, you have to be cognizant of it. And a lot of times people don't think about how these changes actually affect their lives. But being able to just incorporate these principles that you always follow is, I think, really effective and can make it so much, not easy, but simpler.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head there. Things become simple, not easy, when you have a plan in place. I mean, for whatever you want to accomplish, and I'm speaking to everyone who's listening, if you want to make more money, you want to become a great real estate agent, you want to become a champion bodybuilder, someone has already done what you want to accomplish. And so the path to success has been laid out before you. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I mean, when I was a young man reading Arnold Schwarzenegger's bodybuilding Bible, it showed me exactly what I have to go and do. But, you see those workouts, you do those workouts, they're hard. And so success is simple. It's straightforward. Here's what you need to do. It's not easy. It's just that there's going to be some hard work involved. And so that's what the principles of my book also show us, that, success is possible. It's going to take work. Here's the formula. Now let's get to work and do it.
Exactly. And so let's move on then to the 3rd C in the formula, and that is to concentrate on what counts. And so what do you exactly mean by them? And how does someone use this to create a vision for their life?
Right. And it's my favorite part of the book, actually, because I love helping people create a vision for their life, which is essentially the destination for where they want to get to in life. And so if you know that you want to have this salary and you want to live on this street in this neighborhood with, your girlfriend, you want her to become your wife and have kids, and you want your kids to be involved in this and in that, and you want to, have these rituals and routines that you guys do every week, and this big event that you do every year for your family, a big 4th of July barbecue or something. That's the vision for your life. And when you have that clear vision, and I encourage everyone to read chapter 22 of my book, which is my vision for my family's life. It's very, very personal. It's very detailed. It will give you an idea of how to go and create your own. You'll get a lot out of it. And that will just set you down the path to making the right decisions so that you don't get off track. And when people struggle, it's because they don't have a clear vision. But when you have a clear vision, you know whether or not you should act on an opportunity that comes your way, or whether or not you should, risk everything to go and, you risk that vision that I described to go to a bachelor party in Las Vegas where you don't know what trouble you might get into, and you might come back and your fiance might dump you. She found out you did something stupid. But if you had that vision in place, you would not get off path and you wouldn't act out in Las Vegas. So I like to tell that story, especially to young listeners. If you have that vision for your life, it allows you to make the right decisions and stay out of trouble. And again, it really just comes down to identifying what matters. And I ask a series of questions in the book, which help you identify exactly what matters for you now and in the future. And that way you can concentrate on what counts by working during the day and coming home and having freedom in your life.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how important vision has been in my own life. When I was 14 years old, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I could feel it in my heart. I knew it was in my blood. That's what I wanted to do. And I created this vision. In my first, time I ever wrote down my 12 rules for life, which I still read every day, was this vision of the kind of business I wanted to create. It wasn't the specific business that I'm starting now, but it was how I wanted to help people and how I wanted to influence the world. Over the last 7 years now, it's been since I first wrote that. Whenever I was at a crossroads, whenever I had to make a big decision, whenever, there's the self-doubt, the hard times, the good times, I made sure to go back and read that. And if it aligned with my vision, I knew that this was the right step forward. Even if it's scary, even if it questioning yourself, if you can move forward towards that vision, it's the guide rails to your life. And it's been so important in mine.
Yeah, absolutely. You really described it very, very well. And I appreciate you for doing that and sharing your example, because obviously people who are listening to this are going to connect with you very strongly, and to hear how you are using them makes it easier for someone to realize how they can use it.
So that's really the 3C formula. Like I said, I can't recommend the Perfect Day Formula book enough. It's incredible. But now I have to ask this, as you all know, I am a fitness fanatic. Craig is as well. That's how he started out in business, and really, as he said, what he first got into it in his life. And so, Craig, I want to know what training means to you. You've trained thousands of people. You probably talk about it every day, making videos. It's one of your businesses. But to you as a person, when you're in the gym by yourself, what does that mean to you?
Man, that's just the time of day when I'm just so on fire, ideas running through my head and having a great training session. And it's really everything that I've built my life around is so that I can have that freedom to go in there. And, a workout doesn't just make you fitter. A workout makes you a better person all around. It instills that discipline. It helps you build confidence. It really is. It's like early to rise in an activity. It's health, wealth, and wisdom when you're in the gym. And so that's why people need to make it a habit. The great thing is you can get a lot of results from a short amount of time. And if you take a look at some of the greatest figures in history that you and I would look up to, like Arnold, Sylvester Stallone, people like that, they've just made fitness a part of their lives, and it's made them better people in general. And so we see that more and more today. People are getting involved in it, and it's really becoming part of the culture and community. And so many people can get so much out of it. It helps you get out of depression. It helps you overcome anxiety, and helps you meet people. You might even meet the love of your life by going to the gym and training. So can't say enough about it, my friend. And I'm sure you would feel the same way.
Oh, I really do. I mean, it's the first thing I do every day. I can't start my day without training. It's completely my meditation, my escape from basically the rest of the world. I think I talked about this, in the first show, but I can't talk about enough about how important it is to me, because the influence it's had on my life is so, like you said, beyond just the gym. For me, waking up in the morning at 4:00, going to the gym and squatting 300 pounds in that like physical pain mentally for me, it's like there's nothing in my day that I'm going to do harder than this. And for anyone who squats, like you know that feeling. And that's just obviously one example, but really it's something that I think everybody should make a habit on, or a habit of. Not everyone has to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Not everybody has to look like a fitness model, but just getting out there, getting active, is the benefits are just endless.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I didn't really think of, but you said it really well, in that that might be the hardest thing that you do all day long, and so you get up, you show to yourself that, hey, I can do this. You build yourself your confidence, and you have that discipline, and it just is a great way to kick off the day. Plus, it does so much for your health and your energy levels and your emotions and your mood. I know you've probably had stuff come up where you've missed a workout, or maybe not had as long of a workout as possible, and it throws off your day. And so I felt that way too. But when you get the workouts in, you feel like you can accomplish anything. So it's really fantastic.
It is. It's the best. So next, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what has really influenced you in your life. And I think I know a few things just from reading you all these years. What fires you up? I know that you talked about how you want to help 1 million people, and I think that goal is actually higher now. But I know a lot of the times you talk about your father and the relationship you had with him. So what are some of the things in your life that have made you who you are and made you a champion?
Well, both of my parents were really, really hard workers. Man, just incredible how their work ethic. And so, they didn't have great jobs. My father was a farmer. My mother worked in a office, but they would work all day, and then my father worked at home, obviously, but then in the evening they continued to work because they had work to do and they got the job done. And so I was inspired by them to go out. My mother certainly had a great influence on me for behaving properly. My father, not so much, but she really got me thinking about saving money and not wasting all my money. And so that was helpful. And they both valued the education, and they encouraged me to go and do whatever I want to do, even though they were kind of skeptical that I'd make a living out of this fitness stuff. But, so it was really, they had a huge impact on me, and I think it's so important for parents to be there for the children. Next is just, I read so much. I've read a lot of books over the years. Some of the most influential are from Epictetus, his Art of Living book, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And then in the business world, The Secrets of the Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish is a book that really has had impact. Dan Kennedy's books, his courses, his seminars, I've probably studied him more than anybody. Mark Ford, the man who started Early to Rise, has been a big influence. And then today, the biggest influences on my life are my peers, my friends like Bedros Keuilian, Joel Marion, and Matt Smith, my business partner. These guys not only help me become a better business person, smarter thinker, but also a better person. So really it comes down to learning from and spending time with people that hold you to a higher standard, who will not let you get away with your bad habits. And certainly my friends have corrected me on a lot of things and just made me, like I said, a better person. And so I'm very, very grateful for them. Even though I'm not the most outgoing person in the world naturally, I've made a lot of friends over the years. And it's essentially for even the most introverted among us to get out to events and meet people, because you need to grow your social network as much as possible. It really is about who you know in this day and age as much as ever. The thing is, there's actually scientific research that shows who you hang around with, you actually do get their traits. So the research is in the obesity world. So if somebody hangs around obese individuals, they actually have a greater chance of becoming overweight themselves. People that hang around others that smoke cigarettes have a greater chance of becoming cigarette smokers. And so it's terrible to think that way, but that is actually the truth of the matter. And so if you put yourself in certain environments and around people, you slip slide down to their habit level. And if you put yourself around people who are smarter and more successful and kinder and more generous than you, then you become that way. So you really do need to pick and choose who you spend the most amount of time with. Now, you don't have to completely eliminate family or current friends from your life. You just can't be spending all of your time with people that have bad habits and that don't allow you to become the best person that you can be.
Yeah, and it's tough sometimes. That was one of the biggest realizations. There's people that I've known my whole life, that at least known for a while, and I like them. They're good people, but they weren't the best influence on my life. And it was tough to, kind of cut them out. But then it freed up this space where I met other people who were more aligned with my values and my vision, and especially, through the internet, through reading, through these seminars. And that's just something to think about, I think, for a lot of people, is sometimes it's not always easy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Michael Phelps wants to be the best swimmer in the world, he can't just be swimming at his local pool. And if he wants to be the best, he has to leave the local pool and go to the next level. And it's the same way with anybody. If you want to be the best, jiu-jitsu fighter, you just can't train with the person who got you your yellow belt. You obviously have to step it up to the next level. In most cases, you're not going to find the world's greatest jiu-jitsu trainer on your first attempt. And so that is the way that life operates. You always have to be finding more and great people to hang around with. But again, you might just be decreasing the frequency with which you hang around people right now. And that's fine. You don't have to hang around somebody every day to be their friend. You can hang around them maybe once a month or once every quarter, or, just go on a golfing trip with them or whatever you want once a year. You can maintain those relationships, but you have to understand that if there's certain things you want to achieve, there are certain people that you have to hang around with.
I agree. I think the point you just made is really important. Champions, especially, sports champions, they're always competing against the best. They're always putting themselves up against the best competition. And that's an uncomfortable position to put yourself in. But once you start seeing the benefits of that, true champions rise to the occasion. Next, I just want a few rapid fire questions before we finish up the podcast. The first one kind of relates to what we've been talking about, but this will be a more definite answer. Is when you hear the word champion, Craig, who is the first person who comes to mind and why?
It's actually me, because believe it or not, when I first started my email newsletter back in 1999, I started my first email newsletter in 1999. I cheekily named it Champion Builder because my initials are CB. And I think maybe my roommate at the time said you should call it Champion Builder or something. And it was as a joke. So every time I hear the word champion, I actually think of myself in Champion Builder and my first newsletter. So that probably, I might be the only person that you ever ask that to who says themselves.
That's awesome. All right. Next one is, what do people not ask you often that you wish they did?
That's a good question. I know I'm going to let my brain think while I answer here. So I know what they do ask me that I'm very surprised that they ask me about, and that is that they don't know what matters. And so when someone says, when I speak at an event and I say you got to concentrate on what counts and focus on what matters in your life, I'm just amazed at the number of people who come up to me after and say, "Hey, Craig, I don't know what matters in my life." And so I still don't have a good answer for your question, but that is probably the most popular question that I get asked, that I'm surprised I get asked.
No, that's a great answer. Thank you. On the health side, what are some of your favorite foods that you like to eat?
I eat a lot of nuts, a lot of walnuts, a lot of nut butters, stuff like that. I probably eat a few too many protein bars, but I'm trying to find ways to eat candy that's healthy. And, like protein bars packed with stevia are pretty sweet. So I do have a bit of sweet tooth. I love eating greens. I've always eaten broccoli since I was a kid. My mom tricked me by putting a lot of butter on it. And when I was a kid, and then I started liking broccoli. And then, so I just have been eating it ever since growing up. So it's been easy for me to get that part of the health. And then, I just love steak. So, John Romanello can eat a steak faster than you can eat a donut. I mean, this guy eats like a 14-ounce steak in 2 or 3 minutes. It's unbelievable. Meanwhile, I take about an hour to eat a steak. I don't know why. I'm the slowest eater in the world, but I love eating ribeye steaks and, ribeye, greens, and either a glass of wine or just maybe a Black Russian is a fantastic dinner for me at a steakhouse.
I agree with you on the steak. That's my go-to. And I actually, side note for everyone out there, if you want to know how to cook a steak, look up John Romanello steak recipe, because that is the best way to cook a steak. It's delicious. All right. So the final question of the podcast, which is the same question that I'll be asking every guest we have on the show, which we'd like to know from you, Craig, is what is the one thing you challenge our listeners to change or do in their lives to become a champion?
Oh, that's easy. So it's just get up 15 minutes early and focus on your number one priority in life. So doesn't matter what time you get up right now. If you get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, get up at 7:45, try and get to bed a little bit earlier the night before so you don't sacrifice your sleep. But then go to your kitchen table with a pen and paper, sit down, and it doesn't matter if you want to gain 20 pounds or you want to make an extra $5,000 this year, or you want to find a new girlfriend, or you want to go out and buy your first house. But sit there and think and walk through all the options, all the things that you need to do, and just spend 15 minutes every day working on your number one priority as soon as you get up, and you'll make incredible progress in your life, and you'll live the dream, my friend.
I couldn't agree more. That's, like I said earlier in the show, that's the biggest, what's had the biggest impact in my life is getting up earlier. And I think what's important too to note is that getting up 15 minutes earlier, you don't need to, get up 3 hours earlier right away and make this huge change. Just making those small little changes every day is what really matters.
Absolutely.
All right. So thank you so much for being on the show today, Craig. Can you just tell our listeners where they can find you, what you're currently working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So my biggest project right now in my life is called the Perfect Day Formula. So if you go to perfectdayformula.com, I've made a little video for people to watch there about what the Perfect Day Formula is. They can connect with me on Twitter, which is actually the easiest way to connect with me, twitter.com/Craig Ballantyne. And then they can check out my site, craigballantyne.com/free gift to get a couple of really cool downloads and tools to improve their lives. And then finally, just read all of our daily essays at earlytorise.com. That would be fantastic. I'd love to connect with everybody. There's nothing more I enjoy in life than mentoring young people. I teach people all over the world. I go to Europe every summer to teach young entrepreneurs. I teach, young trainers at Fitness Business Summit and at Turbulence Training Summit. So I just get really jacked up to be with young people because they have so much ambition, so much energy, and you're just not jaded. You're not jaded by the world or corporate policies, and you guys just have so much, I believe I can do the impossible attitude that just really fires me up and makes me have hope for the future.
Awesome. And you will be able to find all those resources in the show notes. Thank you so much again, Craig.
No problem, Andrew. Great speaking with you and finally meeting you.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the show as much as I did. Like I said, this was really a surreal experience for me, and every single second of this show was filled with life-changing advice. I promise if you start to implement these success principles one day at a time, you'll be well on your way to becoming a champion. Remember to check out First Finisher on Facebook to join our community and to talk about how you're going to take on and conquer Craig Ballantyne's Champion Challenge. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to our podcast page on iTunes and leave a 5-star review. These reviews really help with our show getting noticed and help us to spread our message. That's all for today. Thank you so much for listening. I wish you the best in your pursuit of becoming a champion.